Bish bash bosh, here we go at the park. So today we're back again with another top 10. This is George's top 10 flat rides this week, so it's a little bit similar to a couple of weeks ago when I did my top 10 water rides. Another individual top 10, this time, as I say, George's top 10 flat rides. So if you haven't checked out the video that came out a couple of weeks ago, my top 10 water rides, do check it out. I'm sure it'll be on the end cards, or you can just go down to our channel page and check it out when you're done with this video. So I hope everyone is doing okay. You guys that check out our videos every couple of weeks, I hope you're all doing alright. Obviously great news that the UK theme parks are opening up again on July the 4th. We'll be there around that time to carry on and restart filming at the parks videos. So I'm sure you'll all be quite happy to hear that at the parks videos are returning. It'll probably be at the parks Thorpe Park first, but we'll have to wait and see and sort of plan that out and figure dates and what park and when and all that sort of stuff. But without further ado, pass you over to George and he'll get straight into his top 10.
So kicking it off with number 10, we have Black Buccaneer, located at Chessington World of Adventures. If you check out our other video on the Chessington World of Adventures, you will actually see we have got a little bit of footage of that getting renovated currently for when it opens back up. This ride did originally open in 1988 as the name of Smuggler's Galleon in the area Pirates Cove. It's sort of like right next to Transylvania, which is now obviously named the Wild Woods. But anyway, back to the point. It's obviously a pirate ship ride manufactured by Huss. And it does provide some good airtime, especially on the furthest back row and furthest front row, as you would probably imagine on these sort of rides. But it was fairly well themed for a pirate ship ride, I guess you could say. Quite sort of like the little the op cabin, sort of how it was painted black as well, hence the name Black Buccaneer. But yeah, it's a nice little ride, provides a little pop of airtime every now and again. And yeah, I think it's a nice little ride. It's a shame it's been obviously removed now to be rethemed, or what the renovation that's taking place on it now. It did indeed get closed in 2018. But yeah, it's a nice little ride for what it is. So coming in at number 9, we have Hurricane Kondal. This is an Intamin drop tower, and it was opened at PortAventura Park in the resort of PortAventura World in 2005, so quite a mediocre aged drop tower we have there. This is actually located in, once again, a Mexico sort of themed area of the park. Quite sort of a central location within the park, so it does provide some really good views on all 5 angles that you can sit on. I do also believe that some of the angles you can sit on are actually stand-up bits as well, so it's quite a contrast there. You can sort of experience it sitting down or standing up. The drop tower is actually 376 foot tall, like in terms of the actual tube, but the riders do only go up a bit just below that. But that's not an issue because it is still a really intense drop tower, provides some really good forces and also some really good views. I do believe you get up to quite a speed actually, something around about 70 miles per hour. I'm not too sure exactly, but it is quite a speed you do get up to there. But some of the views you can see, it's really good because you get Shambhala, Dragon Khan, or on a different side you could see Furious, Baco, maybe even Red Force, with that being the tallest and fastest roller coaster in Europe. But yeah, no, this is a really intense ride, really fun, and if you do get the chance after lockdown, I really do recommend going and visiting PortAventura. Moving into the number 8 spot now, we do actually have Renesis Revenge, and this ride was located at Chessington World of Adventures Resort. This was actually opened in 1995, so a really old Huss topspin we have here, and it was really nicely themed, both on and off ride. There was actually a little water feature as well on the ride, which was really nice and interactive, and provided quite nice aesthetical views as well of the ride. Unfortunately, this ride did actually get taken down last season, which isn't too good at all because it was actually the last top spin that there was at the park. But you know, typical Merlin, they sort of literally removed all their other top spins just to feed this one, so it lasted. And look, they run out, and now look what's happened. It's gone.
Help me! It's rotting us from the inside. They came from hell. They came from hell!
But you know, that's Merlin for you. They can do what they want, but hey ho, let's talk about the ride. So yeah, it was a really nice ride. The on-ride sequence was really good, quite unique as well. And yeah, many enthusiasts and the general public really did like this ride when it was here. But unfortunately, it did have to get removed. But yeah, let's move on to number 7. And here we are on number 7, making our way through the list now. We're on to Rush, located at Thorpe Park. This was actually opened in 2005 alongside Slammer, both from S&S there. This is actually an S&S Scream and Swing. And they were both located in the Lost City themed area of Thorpe Park. But unfortunately now the Slammer has actually been closed down and it is SB&O. But they can't actually remove it because it was done in a contract with Rush. So if they was to get rid of that, this brilliant flat ride here also would have to be removed, which is a shame. But nevertheless, let's get into the ride. So, as I said, it was opened in 2005. Most people actually consider it to be one of the better flat rides in the UK. I mean, it is in my top 10. I'm sure it's in Kai's as well. But it's a really forceful ride. The airtime you get is insanely good. It's definitely the best airtime you get at Thorpe Park for sure. The restraint system I really like as well, because it's just sort of this minimalistic lap bar sort of type thing that comes down over you. You usually get as well a really nice sort of like brushing through past the queue line back up again. You can sort of see the dome. It's a really nice ride, and I believe when it was opened actually it was the tallest of its type in the world. But yeah, no, the ones in S&S Scream and Swing, really nice model here. And yeah, if you do get a chance to, like, you know, head down to Thorpe on the 4th of July, then I really do recommend that, because it is a brilliant ride. All the way down to number 6 now, we have Vortex, also located at Thorpe Park. It's actually quite near Rush, if I'm being honest. This was opened 4 years earlier, just in 2001, and it's a KMG afterburner. It's also located in the Lost City sort of themed area of the park, and it's the sort of ride it is. It's essentially, there's 8 gondolas, I believe, that are sort of attached to this central arm, all facing inwards, and it sort of swings like Rush, except it sort of spins on the axis of the central arm as well, so it's some really sort of spinny but sort of lateral G-forces as well as a bit of airtime. So it's quite an intense sort of a mix of intensity. It depends really, because you can get the top spin or the underspin, and obviously the top spin is better because that's when you get the highest pop of airtime, because you're higher up and it sort of drops back down. But yeah, no, this is a cheeky little ride. It's sort of right on the edge by the water, so in the summer it's a really nice vibe, sort of like music playing, that kind of thing. So yeah, a really nice little ride there, Vortex at Thorpe Park. Coming in at number 5, more of a controversial one to most of you, as you probably wouldn't really know what this is. This is Breakdance, and it's a Huss sort of travelling attraction. Well, basically, there's a little story to this. Me and Kai rode this, more specifically called the Dom Dancer, as it was located in the Hamburg Dom sort of travelling park. And we rode this last year in 2019, around sort of July-ish time. And honestly, this ride is immense. It is so comedic. Like, the intensity, the sound of it, it sounds like it's going to blow up. The German ride ops, I don't know what they've taken or what they was doing, but honestly, they were ramping that thing up to maximum voltage. That thing was going to blow up at some point in the evening. Luckily, we did get out just before that. But yeah, no, this ride is so intense. It's sort of like there's 4 sort of little arms on it with 4 cars attached to each one, and they're spinning on their individual axis, as well as this whole wheel is spinning as well that it's on. And honestly, the lighting, there's literally 2 booths. One for the ride op, which is obviously the legend German ride op, whoever we had operating that ride there. And then obviously there's a DJ booth that is controlling the lighting, the music. Honestly, it is insane, the ride, especially at night time. We did actually ride it twice. One sort of in the dusk, and then one in the dark, and it's such a good ride. Really gets that disco vibe, sort of the club sort of feeling there. Honestly, brilliant ride, and for a travelling ride as well, to be in the top 10 flats is quite impressive to say the least. But yeah, that's Dom Dancer for you by Huss. Now we breach into the top 4 of my flat rides, and we have Scream. This is an Intamin gyro drop tower, actually located at Hyde Park, Germany. This ride was opened in 2003, so quite a fairly oldish drop tower we have here, but a really intense one to say the least. I think it's 330 something foot tall. And as well as that, it's actually located on top of this really large hill within the park. So it really stands out and is very intimidating, alongside the theme of it too. Once again, the station building for this ride is really, really well themed. It's sort of like this, almost like a dome, like the old theatres you would sort of get back in the day, like this dome-shaped thing with spikes sort of poking out of it. Sort of like this 2-floored dome that it sort of like imposes straight out of, and when you look at it from above as well, it really is intimidating. Like, you sort of feel like you're going to get impaled by these spikes. But yeah, and also the views it produces around the park as well. And once again, you don't even have to worry about where you sit, because it's a gyro drop tower, so the car does actually rotate around as you're increasing the altitude. And then it sort of holds you at the top for a while, and sometimes there is actually a speaker element on the top where the ride-up can interact with you and speak, and then it'll drop you. And it's a really, because I think it's quite a heavy car, because it's a gyro one, it holds a lot of people per car, but when it drops, it's so heavy, like you really do feel it, and the view is just amazing. But if anyone does get the chance to head down to Hyde Park at some point, like me and Kai did last year, I highly recommend it. And we're now into the top 3. We have Mystery Castle at Phantasialand. This is actually right near RiverQuest, sort of off to the back of Klugheim. And it's sort of this really nicely well-themed sort of castle structure that you sort of go through this queue line. It's sort of like the inside of an old castle, and you sort of come to this sort of holding room just before before you get let in. And when you do go in there, it's really dark, and there's these, I believe you've got 2 on each side of one wall, and then on the other there's another single one, so I believe it's a total of 6 drop towers there, but they sort of shoot you up at an immense speed depending on which cycle you get. I believe when it passes midday, I believe it then switches to Misery Castle, which is where you then, like, it's a different cycle, and it's sort of got this weird sort of element to it. It's just a completely different ride layout, which is really interesting there from Phantasialand. I mean, they're always producing these amazing creations that they come up with. I mean, just look at Taron, for example. But anyway, this ride did actually open in 1998, and it took 7 months of construction. I do believe that was excluding the tower. I'm not too sure, though. And it does have quite a good height as well, of about 65 metres. So it's a really decent height there, especially as well with the sort of launch upwards. It's a really nice sort of feeling, a nice little pop of airtime as well when you hit the top. So yeah. Now we're on to the number 2 ride. We have Highlander at Hansa Park. This is a fun time drop tower, and it actually opened last year, and me and Kai got the very pleasant experience of actually going to that park in its when this ride did actually open. So we got to experience Highlander in its opening year. This is 120 metres tall, so that's over 400 foot tall we're looking there. So the tallest gyro drop tower in the world, actually, and it's located in the British section of Hansa Park. It's really imposing, but the only downside is the station, really, because in the advert they sort of displayed this castle, but it's nothing more than just a farmer's fence that I'm sure me and Kai could construct ourselves, if not anything better than that. The queue line's a bit mundane, nothing special there, but I mean the main thing is that it's a drop tower, and it does produce some nice airtime on that freefall section, because yes, it's not going to be too intense because there's not too many seats in comparison to Scream. But other than that, it's brilliant. It's a really nice ride. That's why it's my number 2. Let's move on to the number 1. And in number 1 place, we have Talocan. This Huss suspended topspin is actually located at Phantasialand, and it was opened in 2007, part of the Mexican themed area. sort of around near Chiapas, but sort of located behind this massive facade sort of wall area, and it really encloses the ride there. It's sort of like this really massive facade, and sort of when you're in the ride area, you feel really trapped and immersed. And I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels really sort of enclosed. Almost, you're feeling like you're part of the experience. Also, as well, this ride, you'll notice it in the queue line as well as actually on ride. It does have effects. There's fire and water effects, which is really unique for a Huss topspin. And they interact with the queue line and the people on ride really well. It also has a really unique ride sequence as well. It sort of does this this element where it hangs you upside down, and then it sort of brings you backwards, almost sort of like a reverse sort of. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's really interesting, and the forces that are produced are quite indescribable, to say the least. Also, yeah, once again, the queue line, it really interacts well with the ride experience, and there is an element of suspense as well when you're waiting there, because you're like, what's happening? And what am I going to be experiencing, really? It is really good, as Kai would probably agree with me there as well. There's one downside to the ride, but other than that it is brilliant. But the one little downside is the fact that you can't choose the row. Because me and Kai was unfortunate that we both got the back facing row, so we was facing the massive facade. With all these like hieroglyphics on and stuff like that, all of these sort of like writing. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's really well themed facade, but ideally we would want to face the front where the effects are. That was the only downside of it, really, but other than that, it's a brilliant ride, and that's why it deserves my #1 flat ride spot. I'm sure Kai's flat rides list is slightly different to mine, but other than that, I think that sums up my top 10 flats really well there, and I'll pass you back over to Kai.
So there we have it. The top 10 is over. What did you guys think with Talican in at #1? Quite interesting for me. Obviously, it's an absolutely class Huss topspin over at Phantasialand. For me, it's in actually at #7 in my flat ride, so a little bit lower. But good to see Dom Dancer in there as well. That gorgeous Huss breakdance. It's actually a travelling ride. We had the pleasure of riding it at Hamburger Dom. For me, that's in at #6. So again, quite high to see a travelling flat rider in the top 10 for both of us. I believe it's our only travelling flat that's in the top 10. So yeah, really interesting to see. What did you guys think of the list? But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please do give us a subscribe. We've got quite a decent amount of viewers these days, but still quite low on the subscribers. So if you're enjoying our content, do give us a subscribe. It does help us out. And obviously leave the video a like, and if there's any sort of videos about us you want to see come in the future, put them down in the comments below. I read every single comment. I tend to respond to them, but George might as well. Put down anything you want to see, anything like that, put it down in the comments, and we'll read them all, even if it's just like, love the video, this was my favourite bit, chuck it down in the comments. Let's see if we can get a couple more comments on this video. So thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.